Every year, hundreds of people dream of escaping modern life to join the peaceful Amish community. They imagine simple living, strong family bonds, and freedom from technology's stress. But here's the shocking truth. Only 75 people have successfully joined and stayed since 1950. What goes wrong for the other hundreds who try? Reason 1. The language barrier. Most people think learning Pennsylvania Dutch is just about picking up a few new words, but it goes much deeper than that. The Amish speak German at home as their first language, and this creates an invisible wall that separates outsiders from the community's heart. Church services, family discussions, and community decisions all happen in a language that takes years to master. Former converts describe feeling like foreigners in their own homes, always on the outside looking in. The language isn't just about communication, it's about belonging. When elders share wisdom or neighbors offer support, everything flows in Pennsylvania Dutch. Without fluency, newcomers miss the subtle social cues, inside jokes, and cultural references that bind the community together. Many converts report feeling isolated despite being surrounded by people, leading to deep loneliness that eventually drives them away from their adopted community. Reason 2. The culture shock. Joining the Amish isn't just about giving up cars and electricity. It's about completely changing how you think about life itself. American culture celebrates individual achievement and personal freedom, but Amish society puts the community's needs before personal desires. This shift from me first to we first destroys many newcomers who weren't prepared for such a dramatic mindset change. Simple decisions, like what to wear, where to work, or how to spend Sunday become community matters rather than personal choices. The culture shock goes deeper than lifestyle changes. Amish society has unwritten rules about everything from how to greet neighbors to the proper way to express disagreement. These social customs take generations to learn naturally, but outsiders must master them quickly or face constant social awkwardness. Many converts describe feeling like they're performing in a play where everyone knows the script except them. The pressure to fit into centuries-old traditions while suppressing natural instincts from their previous life becomes overwhelming, causing many to abandon their Amish dreams and return to familiar territory. Reason 3. The technology addiction. We live in a world where checking our phones becomes as automatic as breathing, and breaking this digital dependency proves impossible for most would-be Amish converts. The Amish rejection of modern technology isn't just about avoiding conveniences, it's about fundamentally changing how you interact with the world around you. Former converts describe the first weeks without smartphones, internet, or even electric lights as mentally exhausting. Your brain keeps reaching for devices that aren't there anymore. The silence becomes deafening when you can't fill quiet moments with music, videos, or social media scrolling. Navigation becomes a real challenge when GPS disappears and you must rely on physical landmarks and written directions. Entertainment shifts from passive consumption to active creation, requiring new skills that many modern people never develop. Banking, shopping, and communication all require face-to-face interactions that feel awkward after years of digital convenience. The modern world outside continues moving at digital speed while you're forced to slow down to horse and buggy pace. Many converts underestimate how deeply technology has rewired their brains for instant gratification, making the patient pace of Amish life feel impossibly slow and frustrating, ultimately driving them back to their connected world. Reason 4. Wrong motivations. Most people who attempt to join the Amish are running away from something rather than running toward genuine faith, and this fundamental motivation problem dooms their efforts from the start. Research shows that seekers often fall in love with romantic notions of simple living, peaceful countryside, or escape from modern stress, but they completely miss the deep religious foundation that makes everything else possible. The Amish way of life only makes sense within their specific Christian beliefs about humility, community service, and separation from worldly values. When people join for lifestyle reasons, wanting to escape debt, find peace, or live more naturally, they discover that Amish life without Amish faith becomes unbearably restrictive rather than liberating. Some seekers are attracted to individual Amish people they've met, hoping romance will carry them through cultural adaptation, but relationships built on religious differences rarely survive the pressure of community expectations. Others join during personal crises, thinking Amish simplicity will solve their problems, but they bring their internal struggles into a community that expects spiritual maturity and emotional stability. The Amish can sense insincere motivations quickly, and community members become reluctant to invest time and energy in people who seem likely to leave when their initial enthusiasm fades, creating a cycle where wrong motivations lead to social rejection, which reinforces the decision to eventually abandon the Amish dream. Reason 5. The relationship sacrifice. Joining the Amish means potentially losing everyone you've ever loved outside the community, and this relationship sacrifice proves too painful for most people to endure long term. The Amish practice of separation from the world extends to limiting close relationships with non-Amish family and friends, creating an impossible choice between old life and new life that tears many converts apart emotionally. Former converts describe the agony of watching their children grow up through rare letters or brief visits, missing birthdays, graduations, and important milestones because of community expectations about worldly involvement. Parents struggle with guilt about abandoning elderly relatives who need care, while siblings feel betrayed by someone who chose religious community over family loyalty. Friendships built over decades slowly fade when shared experiences become impossible due to lifestyle restrictions, leaving converts increasingly isolated from their previous support networks. Marriage becomes particularly complicated when spouses aren't equally committed to the Amish path, forcing couples to choose between their relationship and their religious calling, often destroying both in the process. The Amish community provides new relationships, but these take years to develop the depth and intimacy that was lost, leaving many converts feeling emotionally homeless during the transition period. The weight of these relationship losses often becomes unbearable, especially during holidays, family emergencies, or moments of personal crisis when people instinctively reach for support systems that no longer exist, ultimately driving them back to the families and friendships they sacrificed. Reason 6. The reality versus fantasy. Popular media has created a romanticized fantasy of Amish life that bears little resemblance to the daily reality of hard physical work, strict community rules, and limited personal freedom that actual membership requires. Movies and books often portray Amish communities as peaceful havens where simple living automatically brings happiness and fulfillment, but the reality involves backbreaking farm work, lengthy church services, and constant community oversight of personal behavior that many modern people find suffocating rather than liberating. The fantasy emphasizes picturesque barn raisings and wholesome family dinners, while ignoring the reality of pre-dawn chores, manual labor in harsh weather, and social pressure to conform to community standards even when you disagree with them personally. Many seekers imagine they'll find instant peace and purpose in Amish life, but discover that personal problems and character flaws don't disappear just because you've changed your external circumstances. Depression, anxiety, and relationship issues follow people into their new communities, often becoming worse under the pressure of cultural adaptation. The fantasy of simple living also ignores the complexity of Amish social hierarchies, church politics, and community disagreements that create just as much stress as modern life, only with fewer options for escape or privacy. When the harsh reality of daily Amish life crashes into romanticized expectations, most people realize they were chasing a dream that never actually existed, leading them to abandon their conversion efforts and return to the familiar world they tried to escape. Cultural integration. Cultural adaptation requires completely rewiring fundamental assumptions about individual rights, personal privacy, and social relationships that most modern Americans consider basic human needs, making successful integration an almost impossible psychological transformation. The importance of understanding Amish culture goes beyond following rules. That demands internalizing worldview that prioritizes community harmony over personal expression, group decisions over individual preferences, and collective responsibility over personal freedom in ways that contradict everything taught in American society. Community members watch newcomers carefully for signs of authentic cultural adaptation versus superficial rule following, and they can quickly distinguish between someone genuinely embracing Amish values and someone merely playing dress up in plain clothes while maintaining modern attitudes underneath. Cultural integration affects every aspect of daily life, from work ethics that emphasize service over profit, to child-rearing practices that prioritize obedience over creativity, to social interactions that value humility over achievement in ways that require fundamental personality changes for most outsiders. The importance of cultural fit becomes evident during community crises, when members must choose between personal comfort and group welfare. Those who haven't fully internalized Amish values often make choices that reveal their continued allegiance to modern individualism, creating trust issues that can permanently damage their standing. Successfully navigating Amish culture requires not just learning new behaviors, but genuinely believing that community-centered living produces better human flourishing than individual-focused alternatives, a philosophical conversion that few modern people can achieve. Technology dependence. Modern technology addiction runs far deeper than surface-level habits, creating neurological pathways and psychological dependencies that make Amish-style living feel like torture rather than liberation for people whose brains have been rewired by constant digital stimulation. The importance of overcoming technology dependence becomes clear when former converts describe the mental fog, anxiety, and depression that accompanies digital withdrawal, symptoms that can last months or years as the brain slowly adapts to a slower-paced, less stimulating environment that characterizes traditional Amish life. Technology elimination forces people to redevelop basic skills like navigation, time management, and entertainment that have been outsourced to devices for decades, requiring massive relearning efforts that exhaust people already struggling with cultural adaptation challenges. The psychological impact extends beyond personal discomfort to social integration, as people accustomed to instant communication struggle with the patience required for face-to-face conversations, letter writing, and community decision-making processes that unfold over weeks rather than minutes. Technology dependence also affects problem-solving abilities, as modern people instinctively reach for digital solutions to challenges that Amish communities address through human relationships, traditional knowledge, and community cooperation, creating frustration when familiar tools disappear. The importance of conquering technology addiction becomes evident when converts realize that Amish peace and contentment require mental states that are impossible to achieve, while craving digital stimulation, making technology dependence incompatible with authentic Amish spiritual and emotional experience. Relationship costs. The devastating impact of severed family relationships creates ongoing emotional wounds that slowly poison the joy and peace that attracted people to Amish life in the first place, making relationship sacrifice one of the most underestimated but powerful factors in conversion failure. The importance of understanding relationship costs becomes clear when former converts describe the compound grief of losing not just individual family members but entire family systems, holiday traditions, shared memories, and support networks that took decades to build and cannot be replaced quickly within new communities. Family relationships provide emotional stability during difficult transitions, and people who sacrifice these connections often find themselves emotionally unprepared for the additional stresses of cultural adaptation, language learning, and community integration that require enormous personal resilience to navigate successfully. The relationship cost extends beyond immediate family to include professional networks, friendship circles, and social communities that provided identity, purpose, and belonging in ways that aren't immediately replaced by Amish community membership, creating an identity crisis that complicates religious conversion. Children often become the focal point of relationship sacrifice dilemmas as parents struggle with guilt about raising children without extended family support or exposing them to community shunning if conversion efforts eventually fail. The importance of relationship preservation becomes evident when converts realize that Amish community bonds, while strong, develop slowly over years or decades, leaving newcomers vulnerable to isolation and loneliness that can undermine their spiritual journey and community integration efforts. Realistic expectations. Unrealistic expectations about Amish life create inevitable disappointment and disillusionment that sabotage conversion efforts before people have opportunity to experience the genuine rewards that come only after years of patient adaptation and spiritual growth. The importance of accurate expectations becomes evident when examining why most seekers abandon their conversion efforts within the first year. They discover that Amish life involves the same human problem